The other side of the mirror. John stood before the mirror, studying his reflection for any obvious flaws. The only one he could find was himself. John had never held himself in the highest regard, often found scowling at the mirror. But today, he had no choice. This was the first interview he'd had in weeks, so he had to make sure he looked presentable. After a while, he sighed, straightened his tie, and headed out the door. Unfortunately, traffic was a mess, making him arrive late. Things only got worse from there. His low self-confidence and state of panic mixed, removing any hopes of success. As the interview came to a close, John felt all hope leaving him. He drove home in fits of rage and depression, cursing himself for every mistake. And in one moment of hopelessness, he made a mistake far greater than the rest. Fed up with his life, he spun the steering wheel, sending the car sliding off the road. It bumped and skidded down the hill before slamming into a tree, causing John's head to snap forward, hitting the steering wheel and knocking him out. John did not dream. For almost 3 months, he saw nothing but the darkness behind his own eyelids. At several times, he was simply presumed to be dead. But then, he woke up. After getting over the shock of being alive, John began therapy for both his physical and emotional wounds. It went well, and eventually John was sent home with a new outlook on life. The first thing John wanted to do when he got home was take a shower. He turned on the water and started getting undressed when he began to get this uneasy feeling creeping up on him. He stared at the mirror, shirt still in his hands, when he realized what was wrong. He immediately wondered why he hadn't noticed it sooner, but quickly tried to reassure himself that what he was seeing was impossible. The image in the mirror showed exactly what the room had looked like before he walked in, right down to his own absence. He had no reflection staring back at him. He quickly shut off the water and stepped closer to the mirror, expecting it to be some kind of prank or sick joke. But when he reached out and touched the mirror, it felt cool and hard to the touch. Just like it should, but not like he had hoped. It was not some picture put into the frame, but his real bathroom mirror. John quickly turned away from the mirror, desperately trying to understand what was happening. He felt panic rising in him, and in one swift motion he grabbed an unopened bottle of shaving cream and chucked it at the mirror, shattering it. But this served only to increase his panic as John heard the clattering of the bottle hitting the floor. Because it wasn't his bathroom floor it hit. At least not the one he was standing in. His suspicions were confirmed when he caught sight of the bottle of shaving cream sitting on the floor of his bathroom. But it wasn't just sitting in front of him. It was on the other side of the broken mirror. John closed his eyes and tried to catch his breath. After a while, he worked up the courage to check the room on the other side of the bathroom wall, but it was exactly as it always had been. He walked back to the bathroom and stood before the shattered mirror, losing all hope of reasoning out any kind of explanation. After a while, he decides to climb through. Wrapping his shirt in his hands, he grabs a hold of the mirror's frame and pulls himself into the strange room. He steps off the sink and looks around the room. Everything seems to match that of his other bathroom, except, of course, for the bottle of shaving cream on the floor. Curiosity takes hold, and John walks over to the bathroom door. He gently pushes it open and steps out into the hallway. He quickly realizes that this place is much different than the world which he knows. Aside from the mirrored effect of this world, there was a kind of hollow, empty feeling about it. And everything outside the bathroom had a weird black color to it, like dark clouds on a moonlit night. The only way objects could be discerned was through the strange red mist lining their edges. Fear nagged at John, pushing him back toward the mirror, but curiosity drove him forward. And so he explored this dark, changed version of his home with a strange combination of fascination and terror. As he explored, he noticed that not every room held all the furniture that it would have in his real home. In fact, the further he got from the mirror, the greater the change between the two places. As he was pondering this, he began to feel his breath quicken and the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He slowly began to turn around until he could see it, staring back at him. Standing in the doorway between the living room and the kitchen was a humanoid creature with burnt red and black flesh that seemed to flake off like ash. John swallowed hard, trying to maintain calm. The creature spoke with a ragged voice as it said but one word. You. The word seemed to carry a great deal of malice, as if John were the cause of every problem in whatever life it led. You're not supposed to be here. John found himself at a loss for words as fear took over. The creature cocked his head to one side, then the other, studying him intently before proceeding. You're supposed to be dead. A chill runs down John's spine. The creature narrows its eyes and prepares to lunge at him. John begins backing up slowly, but the creature attacks with tremendous speed, swiping a clawed hand at him. John raises his arm in some defense, but the thing's talon-like nails dig jagged lines into his skin. The marks feel like fire as John cries out in pain. The creature prepares for another strike, but adrenaline floods John's veins, and he takes off down the hallway, grasping his arm. He expects blood, but a quick glance reveals that the wound has been cauterized. It still hurt like hell. John sprints down the hallway, running toward the light in the bathroom. But he can hear the creature behind him getting closer. He can practically feel its breath on his neck. He's just a couple feet from the door when he feels burning hands push him to the ground. He pushes himself back to his feet and rushes toward the mirror, reaching out to grab the frame. But his hand hits something solid, as if the mirror were still in place. Panic begins to overwhelm him now as he turns around, preparing to be attacked once more. But the creature is moving much slower now, shielding its eyes from the light. It doesn't get far into the room before the thing's skin starts to burn. It makes a strange, pained noise as it backs out of the room. John breathes a sigh of relief, relaxing slightly in the safety of the light. But he knows that the creature lies just outside the room, waiting for him. It spoke before. Perhaps he could reason with it.
What do you want from me?
John calls out. His question is greeted by silence. Quickly giving up hope of that plan, John turns his attention back to the mirror. He attempts to reach through, but it appears to have regained its solid form. At least from this side. Thinking quickly, John wraps his hand in his shirt and delivers a quick punch to the mirror, which shatters instantly. However, there's no portal left behind this time. The mirror simply falls to pieces, scattering across the floor. John stares in horror at the blank space where the mirror used to be. Slowly, the room begins to change, sliding into the darkness that covers the rest of the house. His mind racing, John quickly realizes that with the bathroom having only one door, he will soon be trapped with the creature waiting just beyond the light. He rushes toward the window, unlocking it and pushing it open as fast as he can. He can hear the creature approaching him. Without a second thought, John dives out the window. The world outside appears to be quite similar to that within the house, but somehow it feels all the more terrifying. Strange, animal-like noises echo through the hellish sky. Fear drives John like never before. He runs faster than he would have ever thought possible as he heads for the distorted version of his neighbor's house. His hopes rest on another mirror acting in the way of his own. He leaps the fence with a grace he could never again hope to achieve and races up the steps to the front door. He turns the knob, throws open the door, and dashes inside. He can hear the thing from his own house chasing after him as it crashes into the door behind him, making a strange, animal-like noise. Having never been in his neighbor's house before, he considered himself quite lucky to have found the bathroom so quickly. Throwing open the door, he comes face to face with the man himself. They each give each other a puzzled look before things seem to click. John glances at the mirror to see an equally puzzled neighbor staring back at him, at which point, all hell breaks loose. The creature chasing John suddenly appears at the door, and the man in the room with him grabs at John, who quickly maneuvers out of his grasp and smashes the mirror with his bare fists. The shards break out toward the man on the other side of the mirror, who quickly steps back, shielding his face. Both of the things in the room with John grab at him as he climbs through the mirror. The one with the skin like ash screams in pain as the light from the mirror burns him. John slowly pulls himself through the frame, tearing free of the hands holding him back and tumbling to the floor, covered in cuts and burns. His neighbor looks down at him with questioning eyes. John scrambles to his feet and looks back at the mirror. His neighbor's reflection stares back at him, and alongside it, his own. John shatters the mirror, cutting off the connection between the two worlds. He breathes a sigh of relief and turns to his neighbor. "Have I got a story for you," he says.
Beware the ways with which you view that being in the mirror, for one day you may find yourself face to face with the monster you have made.